Hello, hello, hello. Wow, look at this. It's me. It's just me. It's just a solo episode, and I feel like I've got a lot of power. I can do anything. The boundaries are limitless. Okay, guys? So be careful, strap in, buckle up. This is not I don't know, whatever. Okay, well, I am here. I just want a little reminder before we even begin that this thrill and spill session is on YouTube. So if you want to see what my beautiful voice looks like, see my new background that I set up, I have like this giant penguin stuffed animal, its name, I don't know what their pronouns are, but this is called Sunset, I believe. And I've got magnets and a tiger pillow, guys. There's some really cool stuff going on, so please check out our YouTube before we even get into this, okay? And now that you're buckled up, right, and you're ready, let's cue the music. All right. Hello and welcome to my beautiful and wonderful Guess Where I Am and Who I'm With jury. I'm your judge, Louise, and on today's trial of Thrills and Spills, we will be discussing the case An All Women's Hostel Room versus Two Sisters and a Man. So let's just get right into this. Order in the court. Let's begin. Okay, so just to give a little summary about what you're about to get yourself into, Thrills and Spills is a kind of like a side podcast within Guess Where I Am and Who I'm With, where Anna and I, or Coke and I, we tell stories that we experienced while we were abroad and traveling, where we kind of learned a lesson, and that was almost always the hard way. In this case, I would say I like witnessed a lesson, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. And the point is so that you guys, my listeners, my watchers, whatever, don't have to make the same mistake when you're traveling, and you're just a little bit more prepared for what you can encounter. And this is just in a quick 30 minutes, so it's perfect for you dog walkers, laundry doers, dishwashers, lunch eaters, whatever, you just have a little 30-minute point in your life and you're trying to fill the void, as we all do. Put on this podcast, and you know what? Share it with your friends too. Talk about it. Reach out to us on social media and give us your opinions on if we handled these situations the right way or maybe the wrong way. We just want to, get close to you. You guys get close to us. So let's get into it. I know I've said that like a million times now, but I am a little nervous. I wish I could say that this is my first time recording this, but this is my second time because I recorded it once and I hated my outfit. Okay, let's just be honest, right? We're being honest here. This is a safe space. I hated my outfit. I hated my boring background, and I couldn't. Okay, so we're doing it again. But that's good because this is real. Before that was a joke. This is real. I just want to also clarify that I am not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. I went to art school. So I don't know anything about law outside of a quick Google and the tons of hours that I spent on the couch with my mom watching Judge Judy. Thank you, Judge Judy. Love you, girl. However, when it comes to this case, I am the judge, the jury, and really the only person left to talk about this situation. I did try to keep in contact, kind of, with everyone who is involved. However, it you know what, we'll just get back to the fact that I'm the only person who's here from this situation later in the story. I'm gonna make you guys wait for it. So you guys, my jury, my listeners, you're just gonna have to believe my statement and my judgment. Okay? Are we all on the same page? Great. Great. So let's stop wasting time and let's get into today's thrill and spill. And we're going to keep the court case bit because it's fun. Okay. So, once again, this is an all women's hostel room versus two sisters and a man. This story is not complicated, but there are a lot of characters involved, and their placement within this hostel room is very important, which is why I have bullet notes for myself. Okay? So I don't need to explain myself. I don't owe you anything except for a good time, maybe a laugh. Okay. Anyways, the most important part of every single case, from my very real and totally not fake law expertise, is to paint the picture of a crime, the crime scene. Okay? So this is it. I want you to close your eyes if you're in a safe scenario and you can do that. Don't be dumb and whatever. Just picture this. Take out a piece of paper if you need to. All right? My eyes are closed. You're in Melbourne, Australia. I'm not a poser. And you're in an all-girls 12-bed hostel room. It's a very, very nice bunk room, okay? You've got 3 bunks on either side of the wall, and every single bunk is full. Now, unlike most Australian hostels, this one happened to have privacy curtains around each bunk, which is so nice. It's so nice because you get privacy even though you're kind of like camping or sleepaway camping with a bunch of adults. Some of them can be really old too. But this was an all-girls room. We were all in our 20s, in my opinion. There could have been an 18-year-old. I really didn't make friends with these girls. But it was 3 a.m. And all of us are fast asleep, dreaming just like the sweetest, amazing dreams of maybe, hot Australians, the summer sun, going to the beach, who knows? I can't read their minds. But we were all fast asleep with our little privacy curtains so no one can see within the bunk. Now, the privacy curtains, really important to this story, okay? Like, the fact that you can't see inside the bunks is key. So just remember that. And also, as a side note, if you are ever booking hostels, part of the reality is that you will be sharing a room with strangers. So if you want more privacy, there's always the towel method where, try to get a bottom bunk and you can tuck your towel under the mattress above you and kind of create just like a small curtain. But sometimes that doesn't work because sometimes you don't get the option of having a bottom bunk. So if you're willing to spend a little bit of extra money, some hostels do have curtains, and it's totally worth looking into that and just knowing yourself in that way. Anyways, back to the story. That's the scene. We have 12 girls, 1 hostel room. It's 3 a.m. and there's curtains for privacy. Now, I know what some of you freaks are thinking. It's not like that. I hope it's not just me. Moving on. Let's introduce our main characters, the defendants and the plaintiff. I really, 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 really hope I'm getting this right. Our defendants are 2 sisters. We're going to name one sister Sarah because, I don't know, why not? And also, if you share a name with someone in the story, it's not personal. This is the first names that come to my mind. The second sister is Jane. Okay, so we have Sarah and Jane. They're on 2 different sides of the wall. Sarah is on the top bunk on one side of the wall, and Jane, her sister, is on the bottom bunk just across from her. Are you getting this? You might need to draw it, okay? Sarah's on the top bunk. That's honestly really important to remember. Let's move on to the plaintiff. Let's call her Rebecca, and Rebecca is in the bottom bunk below sister Sarah, right? And it's 3 a.m., so all of us, we should be sleeping. No, we're not sleeping. Well, I'm sleeping at this point. But Sarah and Rebecca, not. They're awake. Those are our 3 characters in the story, right? We've got Sarah, top bunk, Rebecca below Sarah, and Jane on the other side of the room. Now, where's the crime in all of this? You're probably wondering. This all just seems so ordinary, and it was. And it was. Right? That was that was until 3 a.m. And you're probably wondering, how do I know the exact time? All of the lights, boom, went on. All the nasty, nasty fluorescent overhead lights, boom, on. So me, awoken, I go to check my phone and I'm like, oh my God, what the heck is going on? You know, why are you waking me up out of my hot Australian dreams? It's not fair. It was not fair. And this is where my story begins. And that is the setup to the thrill. And now we spill, guys. All 9 of us girls are awake at this point, right? And if it wasn't for the bright, nasty overhead light, as a lamp person, just disgusted by these overhead lights, it's from Rebecca, our plaintiff, because she is loudly yelling at Sarah, who is above her, to be quiet. And she says this a few times, but Sarah really isn't listening. Sarah does not care. She didn't care at all. She's got her own secret business going on behind those privacy curtains. And Rebecca's just like, Sarah, girl, please. I'm trying to sleep. The issue is, why'd you turn on all the overhead lights? What I didn't realize is I think, I was asleep and I didn't hear this point, but I'm pretty sure that the lights were off. And Rebecca was like, Sarah, you need to stop moving. You need to stop moving. Why aren't you moving? And then, she reached a point that she was like, I'm going to turn on all the lights and yell at her. But why are you bringing everyone else in on this, Come on. So I start to hear some curtains begin to open. And I personally am a firm believer of minding your own business. So I kept mine shut and was kind of listening to this like it was a podcast. Sarah, though, from what I can hear through my curtain, ignores Rebecca, which really only adds fire to the situation. Suddenly the other girls in the room, they're starting to watch. Rebecca's getting more and more angry and just continues to ask Sarah to stop. Now, I'm sure you're still thinking that this is somewhat of a normal story, except now there's just like the lights are on and we're awake. Why couldn't Sarah and Rebecca handle this a little bit more discreetly? But here is where things get more interesting. I want to remind you that this is an all-girls hostel room versus 2 sisters and a man. And right now we have 1 sister, a stranger, and no man. So we still have some key characters you have yet to meet to come in. And here it is. Instead of Sarah replying, and her move is really just ignore, 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 curtains fly open. No, they're not Sarah's curtains. It's Jane. Of all people, other side of the room, Jane. If it's not my bunk, it's also not my problem. And that is words to live by. But Jane took what Rebecca said to her sister Sarah very personally. And you know what? Part of me is like, hell yeah. I would ride or die for my sibling. But the other part of me just wanted to dream of hot Australians. Is that much to ask? In my nice room that I paid extra for with the curtains. And I don't usually give myself that privilege because when you travel on a budget, sometimes you got to give up privacy, and it's worth it because you're seeing all this great stuff and experiencing all these great things. But, I'd been traveling for like 5 months at this point. And I really wanted something nice. So I was like, I'm going to book an all girls room so I don't have to share a room with gross boys. And I'm going to have these curtains so that I can sleep peacefully. No. Started getting emotional there. Back into our story, Jane is just basically like, this is my sister, and I'm gonna protect her no matter what. I don't even care what she's doing up there. That is my sister, and you cannot talk to her like that. That was Jane. Okay, that was my impression of Jane. And just when you thought Rebecca would give up, she wasn't willing to fight Jane or Sarah, I was honestly expecting her to give up. At this point, also, I would like to say I had to look. I had opened my curtain, and now I'm watching all this go down instead of just listening to it. But just when you thought the lights would go out and everyone would go right back to sleep, Jane had stood up for her sister. Rebecca, maybe wasn't willing to fight back. Boom. Rebecca throws open Sarah's curtain to reveal a man. This is an all-females hostel room. Men aren't allowed to be in here, and all hell breaks loose between the three girls. The rest of us, we're all kind of just watching this go down like it was an episode of reality TV or maybe like some bizarre waking fever dream. Sarah stays dead silent with the half-naked man in her bed, and the rest of us in the room were all shocked. And the fight has just begun between self-involving Jane and Rebecca, the girl underneath Sarah's bunk, right? And me, you might ask, what am I doing in all of this? I'm peering through the curtain, and I am taking absolutely vicious notes on how I'm going to tell everyone I know about this, including this podcast. I mean, like, here we are. And there's the crime. A man. Classic. And, you know, actually, I just want to pause for one brief moment and say, if there's any men listening to this, we do still love you. Please don't stop listening just because you're the problem in this specific trial, okay? We still love you. Okay, now back on to said trial, because this is only the beginning. Rebecca and Jane are still going at it, and Rebecca's making the very important point that she did pay extra for an all-girls room, and that means men aren't allowed to be in it, especially at this hour, which in my opinion, totally fair, and I totally respect that. I too spent the money so that I wouldn't share a room with a gross boy. Rules in hostels deserve to be respected, so fair enough, right? Wrong. Jane's only response to that argument is don't talk to her sister Sarah like that. She doesn't make a comment on the man at all or the breaking of the rule at all. So you're probably wondering what Sarah said. I mean, she's the one who started all of this. She's the one with the man. She responds with that they were doing nothing but cuddling. That's all. Despite said moving, Rebecca was accusing them of and keeping her up at night. Me, I don't know. I didn't see anything. Not my bunk. Not my problem. So that was Sarah's response, is that they weren't doing anything. So Rebecca, why do you care? They were just cuddling. Clearly you're just jealous of us because you're all alone and I'm with this weird, sorry, that I shouldn't say weird. I'm with this guy and you're not. So mind your own business. Jane? Still in Rebecca's face for absolutely no reason. And she's like completely crashing out about how Rebecca's talking to her sister. Like the arguments. Rebecca's making a solid case here. She's like, guys aren't supposed to be in the room. Sarah's like, we weren't doing anything, so why does it matter? And Jane's like, don't talk like that. I'm sorry. I'm the judge here, and I'm looking at all of this evidence. I'm hearing all of this evidence, and I'm like, why are we ignoring the blatant rule break that is happening right now? But that's like Jane and Sarah's case is just, let's just not even talk about what's really wrong here. You know, who cares if they were just cuddling? A man's not allowed to be in this room. Like, this is only escalating. Nothing is really getting solved here. So Rebecca does what I would do and what I think anyone would do, is she's like, I'm gonna go get a hostel worker. And she gets up and leaves the room. And all of us, we just sit in silence. Crickets. Like, okay, well, what's happening now? While we are silent for what feels like a really awkward eternity, this mystery half-naked man carries his clothes, hops out of Sarah's bed, casually apologizes, sorry ladies, and leaves the room. And we all just watch. We all, like, our heads turn. Oh, there he goes. Probably maybe should have stopped him, but I was just like, silent bystander moment. And as this one confused man exits our hostel room, another confused man walks in. But this confused man happens to just be the unlucky hostel worker who has to deal with this situation at 3 a.m. And spoilers, this hostel worker has never dealt with a girl fight before. So Rebecca explains the situation to the worker. However, The evidence just walked right outside of the room. The key main evidence just walked outside of the room. What are you going to do? You know? So, like every good person in power, this hostile worker tries to diffuse the situation and is like, girls, can we just deal with this in the morning? Like, you're waking up 9 other people who just want to sleep and have lives. Like, you shouldn't. Why are we doing this right now? Fair. Usually this should work, but you should never tell a woman in rage what to do. It must be handled now according to Jane at 3 a.m. of all times, or maybe 3:30. This has been going on for a while. This should be an open and closed case. But without any evidence, it's hard to prove that a man was really ever inside of the room. It's a little bit of hearsay situation. But wait, guys, my listeners, my jury, all 9 of us girls witnessed this man do the walk of shame outside of this room at 3 a.m. Instead of accepting a guilty case, our defendants, Speechless Sarah, right? She really doesn't say anything during all of this except for the fact that they were cuddling, and over talkative, self-involving Jane, who's really like the lawyer in this situation, pleads not guilty. And when the unlucky hostel worker asks if there's ever a man in the room, Jane goes with the case to gaslight us all, and she claims there was never a man in this room. And also that this is the worst hostel that she's ever stayed in, and her and her sister are going to leave the next day. And you know what? That makes me really mad. At first, I was like, this is drama, exciting. No, then I got pissed. Then suddenly I got angry because, one, you can't gaslight me. We all just saw this man walk outside of this room, and you're really going to have the audacity to not apologize and just slander? And also, I paid extra for this nice hostel. It came with the nice privacy curtains. And you have the audacity to say that this is the worst hostel ever? This is a really nice hostel, and it was recently updated or renovated or whatever. I was shocked, floored. Did I do anything? No. I didn't want to get in Jane's way. She's scary. So, you know what happened next? We all went back to sleep. That was it, guys. It doesn't end in this super amazing moment where you're like, Sarah and Jane, this hostel worker, grabbed them and pulled them out of the room, leaving claw marks against the wall. Jane is screaming. Sarah is just silent as per usual. No, we all just went back to sleep. Because what are you going to do, honestly? Like, the man, he walked out. So there's no evidence there. It's 3 a.m. You're not going to kick 2 girls out in Melbourne, out of the hostel with nowhere to go at 3 a.m. That's just wrong. So nothing really got solved, honestly. And the next day, everyone but me left. And that's why, call back to the beginning, I don't have anyone to talk to from this situation because I guess none of them could handle the heat. I hated how I said that, but I'm gonna leave it in anyway. Yeah, so I was the only strong enough one left. I mean, I paid extra for this. Personally, I love the hostel. And something like this has never really happened to me before. And I'm not going to let a little girl fight scare me out of my hostel room, especially when I pay extra for the fancy curtains and AC too. I also like to mention that this room had AC, and I hadn't had AC in weeks, possibly months. So I wasn't leaving, but I don't have anyone to confirm, also nor deny my allegations. And well, you know what, guys? That's the case of an all-women's hostel room versus 2 sisters and a man. It's up to you, my jury of listeners. If you side with Rebecca, there should be no man in an all-females hostel room, or Sarah and Jane, mind your own business. My opinion, and I think you guys can figure it out, Rebecca was right. You pay extra for these rooms, and sometimes you do it out of safety, sometimes you do it out of choice. Nonetheless, the rules should be respected, and no one has a right to be above them. And the lesson I learned, and the lesson that I hope you guys learn is don't get in the way of a sister. I appreciate the lengths that Jane went to protect her sister from getting in trouble. And that, is the type of ride or die energy that I hope to bring to all my friendships. And maybe my brother one day, but I feel like he should be protecting me, Like, I'm just a girl. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyways, in all seriousness, let's get serious for a second. In a hostel, you really need to respect shared spaces. You are staying with strangers and you need to follow the golden rule that you learn as a kid: treat others the way that you would want to be treated. In all of my time staying in hostels, I never once got in a fight like this, or I've seen one prior or after to this situation, because mostly everyone recognizes and respects others' space. So follow the rules, guys. There's a reason for them, and you can avoid all of this drama about it. Be respectful when you're staying in a hostel. If you're not a person who can see themselves sharing a space like that with a bunch of strangers, then hostels aren't right for you, honestly. If you really need privacy, but you're okay with staying with strangers, make sure to get the curtains, or make sure you have the opportunity for a bottom bunk so you can do kind of like the towel method that I talked about earlier. All in all, though, like, if you don't want to stay with men, don't go co-ed. Like, really know yourself, know your boundaries, and also respect other people's boundaries. And don't start a fight at 3 a.m. And don't bring a man back to your room at like 3 a.m. either. That's just not cool. It's just not cool. And nobody wants to not be cool. I just think it's wild that Sarah really said nothing during this whole situation, even though she started the problem. Her sister Jane really carried. She really carried. But hey, you know what? I think take a lesson from Sarah. Sometimes in life, it's just better to shut up. And that is exactly what I'm going to do right now, because this case is closed and this episode of Thrills and Spills is over. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Guess Where Podcast. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, and now on Pinterest. On Pinterest, I think we're just posting really cool pictures of our travels, and I'm quite the photographer, not to toot my own horn. And I guess I will see you in 2 weeks, because this is a bi-weekly podcast, with another long-form episode with my co-host, Coke. And we're going to talk about something super fun. I'm not going to tell you what it is, or else you'll have nothing to look forward to, but it's super interesting and very important for your next travels, so make sure to tune in then. Don't forget to respect others in hostels. Bye! My next Thrills and Spills, I'm just going to tease my next Thrills and Spills, because why not? I almost joined a cult. Well, I kind of actually did join a cult, and we're going to get into that. And then for YouTube, I know a lot has changed throughout this video. My camera died multiple times because I'm an idiot. It's winter, so I lose sun so fast. I'm just like a baby in this world right now. So please, I'm making mistakes, but I'm learning. Sunset, do you have something to say? Do you want to say goodbye to our listeners? I hope that's what a penguin sounds like.